Hey, you can't start a business because that's not who you are. What are your limiting beliefs? Let's talk about those. Because I've realized for myself that if I hadn't let go of who I was, I could not be doing what I am today. Because we take on an identity, a story about who we are. And what is that exactly? Who are we when we say, I am Shamim, or I am a doctor, or I am a mother? What does that mean? These are identities and labels that we have taken on. Yep, even your name. Your name is just a label. Somebody gave you a label, stuck it on you, and that is what we decided to call you. And this is perpetuated throughout our life. We have multiple labels essentially attached to us over time. Whether we are born in a certain family, we get a label attached for that. Where we were born, who we were born to, what our community, society, nation, all of those things are essentially more and more labels, layers upon layers that we are attaching onto our true self. And do we ever peel off these layers to really look deep inside to see who are we genuinely? And what is our true calling, true passions, our true values? Or are we just behaving in accordance with all these different labels that we've accumulated? For me, this journey of creating my business was very much a journey in self-discovery. And I probably have many such instances throughout my life that have forced me to look inside and rediscover who I am and what I'm about. And the reason I say you can't start a business or start a new career is because you've got to undo you to do it. Because who you are at the beginning of that journey can't do those things. You've got to let that person go, undo that, detach yourself from that identity to be able to move forward and do something totally different. And you'll be confronted again and again during that journey, things that will make you second guess your choice, make you question your abilities, and make you feel like an imposter. The whole notion of an imposter syndrome, what is that? It's saying that I am pretending to be something I am not. I am pretending to be something I am not. Well, who are you exactly? Are you that thing that is pretending, or are you that new identity that you're taking on? And that's completely a choice, and it's completely your choice, because those labels that you've attached to yourself inadvertently are just that. They are not integral to your personality. They are not you. They are simply labels and names and addresses and things that we've associated with who we truly are. So there's no way for you to be an imposter because you weren't anything to begin with. You chose, or it was chosen for you. In some manner, these have been associated together, and there's no reality to them. And you can just as easily detach yourself and disentangle yourself from these labels and choose new ones. You can say, hey, I'm a business owner, or I'm an investor, or I'm a doctor. Whatever is your next identity, you can take that on because it's really up to you. And I know that's probably sounds overly simplified, or sounds easier than it really is. And that's true because psychologically, we're so habituated to our past and our history and what we've been identifying it with. And we feel safer in that identity because it's what we're used to, it's what we're comfortable with. And we're always going to feel more secure with that. But to what expense? Are you truly living fully self-expressed and joyously and doing the things you want, creating the things you want? Or are you being held back by what you think you are? So I think that you cannot, as you are, do something new. You've got to be somebody else. And I know for myself, I was, obviously I had all the history too, right? I mean, I was born, somebody gave me a name. Somebody said I was a girl. I became a woman. I became a doctor. I became a mother. These are all identities that I took on. They are, and I very strongly identified as a doctor for a very long time because it was something I always wanted to do since I was a kid. I became one, and I remember telling someone in the hospital that I am first a doctor and then a mother. And it sounds really kind of harsh if you think about it, because now I probably identify stronger as a mother, but I was a doctor first. And that was more integral to me than being a mother. And then I became a single mom, and that even became part of my identity. Became sort of like a sad identity in the sense that I didn't perceive myself capable of some things because I had to be a mom. I was a single mom. I had the story about it, and I learned how to let go of that. So all of these things we pick up, and whether they're new or they're old, they become part of who we are. And honestly, we don't create them just by ourselves. When we say even a word like I'm a woman, we are bringing the history of the word woman, history of mankind and society, and all the things that come with that when we speak the word. And speaking the word mother or doctor or whatever, those words are not just words. There is always a long history and meaning that carries with that word. So whenever we are attached to some label or identity for ourselves, it's not just as simple as a word. It is a lot of meaning that is interwoven with that over histories and generations that we're carrying forward with us. So it's a whole lot of baggage no matter what the word is. And we're dragging that along. So it's definitely slowing us down and keeping us from the things we want to do. So we got to let that go. We got to just be totally oblivious to all the labels. And I know that's really hard to do. And for me, like, this journey of creating my business was yet another journey of self-discovery, because I had to, like, again, let go of who I thought I was. And I always, again, identified as a doctor and then a mother, and then I was going to be a retiree. That was the identity I was hoping for. Somebody living abroad and relaxing was going to be the next phase. I realized I had to shift. I had to do something different if I wanted to retire or change my life. And I knew that it was going to take something. And so I wanted to get support for my decision. And one of the ways we look for support is we look for alliances or agreement. And one of the ways I did that was to seek mentors and mentorships and partners in what I was trying to do. And not that those are wrong or not useful. Oftentimes they're very helpful. But I think that part of the motivation was, well, if that person who's the expert, who's the mentor, says that this is what I should do and this is the path, then that must be right. And I feel validated. I feel more secure in following that rather than going at it all by myself and sorting it out. So I started that way. And the other thing that happens when we're in this journey of creating something, so we have the identity of labels that is wrapped around our true self. And that true self, that those core beliefs or core values are our true guiding principles in life. And that we do have to resonate with. And we can't really, I think, abandon those or I guess even if we try to, it really wouldn't work. Like, it wouldn't resonate with us, it wouldn't feel right. And so we can let go of the identities, and we often should. Or identities and labels are optional, but the core values are not optional. Those have to align. So when we are creating something new, like whether it's you want to get a new type of education or training or a business, you have to some degree let go of who you were to create it. But at the same time, you have to see, does it resonate? Does it feel right? Am I going in the right direction? So you have to find that internal guide to really check, if it's working, if it's aligned with your true values or purpose or vision. And so when I started creating the business in the beginning, I thought it was one thing. I thought I was just investing for myself, and then I was creating this networking group and we were going to invest together, and that was all great. Each time though, I had to reassess, is this what I'm doing? Is this resonating? And each time, I would also have to let go of something I believed about myself, or whatever notion I had of myself. As first I was a doctor, and then I was helping someone in their business, and then I was creating the networking group because I wanted to network. And then I realized, no, I want to create something more than just networking. I want to facilitate. I want to serve the physician community. And so when I started to think like that, and I had to keep reevaluating the business, like, is this really service? Is this really providing value? And it is, and it wasn't entirely. Like, I had to keep improving upon it and keep thinking about it. And I still am, like, I have now another thing I'm introducing, like the Doctor Investor Club. I'm trying to create an even better system to provide the value that I initially wanted to provide. So again, it's about being bold and willing to let go of each phase. Like, just because it started with, in my case, investing, okay, well, let that go. Maybe it's something else. Started with real estate, well, maybe not real estate, maybe something else. And so what I'm finding is that it's a journey. And then it needs to be a journey for it to be authentic. Because if I just get stuck and paint myself into a corner that, oh, I'm going to do real estate and that's what I am a real estate investor, and then I don't allow myself to deviate from that, then I may not really find what resonates with me. And I think that, yeah, you don't want to be changing direction all the time. You're going to go nowhere. But you do have to keep listening and keep evaluating whether something is aligning with your true core values. And at the same time, letting go of identities and labels and moving beyond those. So I think they're two separate things entirely. Um, and they don't need to travel together. You can disentangle and you can let go of, and identities are choice. Those are choices that we make all along, like whether you want to be called a woman or whether you want to be, attached to a certain culture or language or state or nation. Those are all optional. And even if you can't change your physical location, your degree of identification with that is optional. And so those things can be disentangled from your personality, but your core values likely cannot. And so remembering that and discerning between the two, I think, is super important. Like, discerning what is real, what is my true self and my true core values, and what is simply something I've adopted from my own ideas that I've heard or that have been told to me, or that I've just absorbed from the world around me. And so I want to just I want to first of all share my journey and how it's going, because it's not done. It's not a static thing. It's just it's happening as we speak. And the um and it's taking something, right? Like the even creating something that's public facing is very intimidating, and puts me at risk in a lot of different ways, whether I present an investment or whether I present an idea or just talk or use the wrong grammar or the wrong word. I am risking myself in multiple ways. And that almost has to happen, I think, for me to be authentic and share and be and relate to people, and for people to relate to me. That without that face-to-face interaction and communication, we can't really build a relationship. Without that true authentic communication, people can't get to know me. If I want to convey a message or create a movement or encourage people to think differently, I have to put myself out there. I have to share. I have to keep talking. And it's not always easy and it's not always comfortable, but I am committed to being authentic. And I think that whether I look good or bad, or whether I'm being saying something eloquently or poorly, it's about conveying my authentic self to the world, because when I do that, others will do that. And I'm giving everyone that space or that permission. There are too many people pretending to be experts or pretending to be something they're not. I think the authenticity is more powerful than that. I think we as human beings, when we are authentic and relatable and honest, that has far more impact in changing the world and creating more love and community than anything else that we could do. Let me know what you think.